Hello, Dallas Moms friends. It is Emily Yuri with Dallas Moms, and I am on the giddy side of things today, perhaps fangirling a bit because we are so lucky to be able to chat with someone from Madison Reed. Like the Madison Reed is here hanging out with Dallas Moms. So I would like to say welcome and hello to my new friend, Shvonne Perkins. Hello, how are you?
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. The Dallas Hub is very near and dear to my heart. So I'm excited to hang out with all of you and answer your hair color questions.
Yay! So make sure I get this right. Shvonne is, I'm going to cheat a little bit, the Director of Education and Service Experiences at Madison Reed Hair Color Bars.
Now,
So can you tell us what all you do and just a little bit about yourself?
yeah, absolutely. So for Madison Reed, I fill a couple of roles. I really work chiefly as our Director of Education. So that means it's my job to oversee the education and support going out to all of our colorists and all of the 92 now hair color bars that we have nationwide. So that's a big fleet. That's a lot of colorists. And we're just trying to do our best to make sure that all of our colorists feel supported, connected to the brand, have all the information that they need about our products to give our guests the best services out there. I have been a hair colorist for almost 20 years, which feels very weird to say out loud. That math doesn't work
I
in my head.
understand. Yes, I'm like, oh, how long have you been in publishing? Oh, a while.
Yeah, a few years, a few more than some other people. But yeah, I mean, it's a great field. It's always growing. It's always changing. And I think what we bring to Madison Reed and what Madison Reed can bring to its guests is such an innovative and disruptive and different thing. So even in my experience of being a hair colorist for so long, this is something that still feels very like new and dynamic and growing. So it's a very exciting field and very exciting brand to work with.
Awesome. Well, like I said, we are exciting. And when I mentioned this to a few people on our team, there was more fangirling that happened because we do have a couple ladies on our team who use the
Mhm.
hair color bars regularly. So
Yeah,
we got clients of yours over here.
love it.
We are excited to make the partnership because for Dallas Moms, we also like to provide resources and be the bridge between local moms and
Mhm.
brands and services they need to know about.
Mhm.
And hair color is not only something that we can do for ourselves as moms, which gets neglected sometimes, but it also becomes, as in my cases, I've been around for a while, something that a few years ago wasn't like a part of my routine, but
Mhm.
as we age, like hair color becomes something that you may or may not begin to experiment with. So we did this great article in conjunction with y'all, and it's called Choosing the Best Hair Color because there's a lot that goes into it. Like you say, okay, I'm getting grays and I have naturally dark brown hair. Like, how many dark browns does Emily have to choose from, right? What if I want to try something different? Like, how do I know what suits me? So, you had given us some tips to consider, and we'll post the link in the comments of the article so people can click to that if they want. But we're going to go through some of your tips as the expert. And the
Mhm.
very first tip that you gave was talking about how permanent do you want the color? And permanent feels like a scary word. So, what do you mean?
Okay, that's a great question. So, I think that historically, we're all under the impression that if you have gray and you don't want gray, you've got one choice, and that's to cover it completely. And for many of us, that's the right choice. For me, that's the right choice. I do root touch-ups with permanent color. I love it, and I have no problem with that because I'm fully bought into, like, I'm on a maintenance program. Every 4 to 6 weeks, the roots are getting touched up, and I'm okay with that. Now, there's more options than that people might not know about. And I think when we look at hair color, maybe for the first time, or we're putting our foot in that pool and we're getting comfortable with it, the question we usually ask ourselves is like, well, what color, meaning what shade? But what I think a lot of people don't realize is like you have options about like what type of color. So maybe you have some gray, you've got it, but it's not bugging you so much that you need it completely gone. Maybe you just want to kind of blend it away or camouflage it versus fully covering it. Maybe you're not sure if next month you want highlight. So putting permanent color on your hair doesn't sound like such a great idea to you. That's okay. There's lots of options. We have a line of demi-permanent color called Color Wonder, and we've got that in a lot of really beautiful natural brunette shades. And what that does is it allows you to get color on your hair, kind of shadow those grays away, and that comes out in about 25 washes. So we call it flirting with your hair color. If you just want to flirt with your hair color, if you just want to maybe step into coloring your hair, try that on, see how you like coloring your hair. Maybe you're okay when you look in the mirror that those grays are blended away and not fully gone. And that just gives you that little confidence boost or kind of, makes you feel more yourself. That's really what I think hair color is about, right? It's about how do you feel like your best self? If you do that and that fits your needs, I think that's great. It's something you can do at home or you can do it in Hair Color Bar. You have options. And the beauty of it is that it fades out gradually versus growing out. So you don't have a root line necessarily to touch up. Now, for those of us, I happen to have a little bit more of a resistant gray, especially in my temples. So I do the permanent, I let it grow out versus fade out, and that's okay for me. But it's all about lifestyle and like how much you want to be committed to this. If you're starting and you're like, listen, I'm not looking for a new thing to add into a routine. I just want to do this when I want to do it, like when I have the time or like feel that maybe I'll do my gray. Try out the demi-permanent first. It's a really great stepping stone into your hair color journey. It can be kind of a progressive thing. And then maybe you switch to permanent later. Maybe you don't and you stay with demi. Either way is, they're just a different sort of like quality of coverage or shade of coverage.
Yeah, and that honestly was kind of new information to me whenever I kind of
Mhm.
started the hair color journey, because my frame of reference would be what my mom did like back in the 80s, and
That's
hair
right.
color has changed a lot since that, right?
Yeah.
Another point you mentioned is to take tone into consideration. And what do you mean by that? Like eye color, skin color kind of thing? Like I said, how
Mhm.
many shades of brown are there? So what's your tips on that point?
Yeah, there's so many shades of brown, right? And when you go into a hair color bar and you consult with a colorist, they can even customize looks for you and create something that maybe you weren't even considering before. I think that most of us can probably agree that hair color or color in general is its own language. Like if I say taupe to someone or I say beige to someone, we probably have different images in our mind of like what that color is, right? Maybe someone envisions something a little bit more golden, maybe someone envisions something a little bit more neutral. So I think what that does is it follows us into how we see ourselves. So we have ideas of like what certain colors look like, and then we also have certain ideas about like what we look like in the mirror, like our pallor and our complexion and what's best for us. And I think it can really help to get someone else's input around when they see you with fresh eyes. What do they see and what do they think will really work for you? An example almost always is if you line up 100 women and talk to them about their hair color and their tones, people will say, I don't want red. I don't want red. Like so people will get like really afraid of being too warm or too golden. But then when they show a picture or they'll say like, oh, but I like your hair color. What's that? And I'm like, this is golden. This is a lot of gold, right? We don't always have a way to conceptualize like how color translates. And for instance, gold does a really good job of like reflecting light. It can make your skin look dewier, kind of like younger, more youthful. And I think people don't really realize that. And they might be afraid to move into a tone they haven't used before without realizing what it does for your overall appearance. And so, I think consulting with a colorist and kind of talking about not just like your complexion, but what do you like? What do you want it to feel like on you? What are your makeup colors that you like? That will kind of inform what your best tone is for your hair.
Yeah, and that totally segues into the third point so
Yeah.
beautifully, about curating ideas. And one thing that I think is awesome
Mhm.
Is, I mean, you know, you always like, you can make a Pinterest board, you can do different things to kind of curate like what you're wanting to express about yourself. Like these are things that you're drawn to. Does this kind of match maybe what I've got going on here? You know, how can we make all of this work together? But correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't Madison Reed have a pretty awesome tool where you can kind of play around on your website with
Yeah.
different color? So you could even do that before you went to the color bar, just to kind of play around to give yourself some ideas or maybe even some confidence of trying colors that you haven't thought of.
Yeah, the virtual try-on tool. It's amazing. It is you know, it lets your imagination kind of like face you. Like it can be really hard for us to think that we know what we would look like darker or lighter, but when you see it on your face, and I think too, it's really important when you use the virtual try on tool, do it with some makeup on, try it again later with some makeup off, right? Because that's how we're going to look in real life, right? We move through
No,
life in
that is
very
a great point. Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
very various levels of put togetherness. And moms are busy, and sometimes it might be like a top knot and a little bit of chapstick, or nothing at all, and that's totally fine. It's all about like, do I like what this shade is doing for me overall, not just when I'm totally put together or glammed up. So I would
Right.
say, like, try it on in a couple different ways. Use the virtual try on tool,
Hmm.
and then like change where you are in your house, change your lighting, see how it moves with you. And it'll help you get a really good idea. It's, there's nothing like putting it on your actual hair, but it will really help
Right.
dilute.
Right. No. Yeah, I think it does. It could help a lot, and I think it could
Yeah.
also help, the colorist who is kind of trying to guide you as well. It helps her know what direction you're kind of thinking. And if
Mhm.
she needs to gently steer you in another way or,
Right.
help you find where you need to go. So
Right.
something you said earlier, again, you know, the whole hair coloring world over the last few years has been a new venture for me.
Mhm.
But you also mentioned something too in the article about it doesn't always have to be all over color. And you kind of referenced that before, but you have, highlights, low lights, and then you do offer like different types of colors, which you mentioned, but also like a gloss. So can you
Mhm.
kind of explain a little bit more that it doesn't have to be all over color? Like what is a gloss? What does it do? All those things.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's sort of a continuum of hair color and the impacts that different hair colors will have on your hair. Um, and there's also a continuum of human behavior of why are we coloring our hair in the first place. I think the minute we start talking about hair color, the first thing that comes up is gray coverage. While that might be the impetus for many of us to color our hair, it's not for everyone. Sometimes you just want your hair to be a different color, like for fun or for just experimentation, or my hair, I don't have gray, but I like it a little bit cooler toned or warmer toned, whatever is the reason. So I think start there. Number one is, why am I about to do this? Am I coloring to cover my gray? If so, then you get into the what kind of coverage do I want conversation. If your reason for coloring your hair is, I just want to try on something different, it could be gray is not even in the equation anymore. Now we're going to more look at our glosses and our demi-permanents, because that is something that, sure, maybe it goes all over your hair and changes you up. For glosses are about 6 to 8 shampoos, so that's a much more we call that semi-permanent. That's a shorter lifespan. And then the demi-permanents are up to 25 washes, so you get a little bit more wearability. And neither of those are permanent, so they can change with you. And you can also go in and have your hair professionally highlighted or low lighted. Or you can do any variation where maybe you just want some attention brought around your face and you get like face framing highlights, like an accent highlight. And then you just want those pieces copper and the rest left brunette. There's as many variations as there are colors on the color wheel. So I think kind of starting with, if you can, and if you don't know this yourself, this is where a professional colorist is really good at pulling this information out. What am I coloring for? Like, what do I want to get here? And then we can like lead into like the product and the placement that's going to achieve that for you.
Yeah, and I know that you do offer Madison Reed offers at home options, but
Oh
I
yeah.
can tell you right now that you do not want Emily doing anything like that at home. One, it just wouldn't go well, and I'm happy to admit that about myself. No shame. But also, as a mom with kids
Sure.
at home, finding time, like uninterrupted time, to carefully follow the instructions, which I should be
Sure.
doing, is difficult. And, I would like for you to talk a little bit. Yes, we're going to talk about consulting a pro, a colorist is what I personally would always do because I don't trust myself enough. And like thinking of time alone in the bathroom that I can actually color my hair where I wouldn't be interrupted seems like a mythical experience at this point in my
Mhm.
life. One day it may happen, but not
Yeah.
now. So, talk a little bit about your hair color bars. From what I've understood, is that it can be a bit of a quicker experience for busy moms.
Yeah.
So, what can a mom expect if she books something at one of the hair color bars?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a couple of things that set us apart in the hair color industry. One of them is that there is no gatekeeping, right? What we use on your hair in a hair color bar is exactly what we sell on the shelves for you to use at home. So there's total transparency. There's no consumer line and pro line. We developed our color to be professional level, and that is exactly what we sell to our guests for home use. So the quality is going to be there. And if you happen to want that flexibility, I hear you loud and clear, Emily. You're like, nope, don't look over here. I don't want the flexibility. You do it. But if you're out there and you're like, no, like, I would be willing to go into a hair color bar and maybe do that sometimes and still want to do my own roots occasionally at home, we can show you how to do that. We'll tell you the exact color we're using on you. That's going to be saved in your profile so you always have visibility. There's no mystery there. And if you're like, okay, wait, slow down. Can you like show me how you're putting this on just my roots and not getting it everywhere? We absolutely can. So there's this great like education and coaching element there that if you want that, we'll show you, we'll walk you through it, we'll talk you all through that. So that's really different than a traditional salon. Another thing that we do is we sort of break apart some of the pieces that can be a little bit cumbersome in a schedule, and we make those more a la carte so you get to decide how much time you want to spend with us. So for instance, we have a self dry station that we offer free of charge. So if you want to come in and get your roots done with us and you're in a hurry and you got to go pick up your kids or you got something else to do and you just want to do a quick dry on the front, take a look and hit the door, you're welcome to do that, and you pay nothing for that, or you can blow dry your hair fully, or you have the option for us to do it. So it's all customizable, and I think that's a really beautiful part of it, is that you can come in and in a little over an hour or so have your roots done or your color done and be on your way. Or if you would like to add a deep conditioning treatment and a blow dry, you have that option too. So to me, it's all about giving moms choice of their
No,
schedule.
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No.
Because I love that is so awesome. And I do think that is an awesome disruption to make into kind of the hair care beauty
Yeah.
industry. Because one of the things I hear a lot from other moms is like, oh, I don't want to start coloring because of the maintenance, but the expense that's tied with it. Because
So
if you do it, you have to also get all these other things attached with it.
true.
And so having the ability, like it may be something that this month you can do and you do want to be pampered and have the deep conditioning treatment, but maybe next month or a couple months later it's just not in the budget this time, or you
Mhm.
don't have, it's like crazy December and no mom has any time in December. So that is such an awesome service that you'll offer, and I think perfect for everybody who's in different ages and stages of mom life.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then the other thing too that I just think is a real perk and I think makes everyone's life easier is that we offer hair color membership. And that's completely disruptive and new as well, because I like my life on a set it and forget it. I like to know that like this is what's available to me. I'm paying a monthly fee for this and this is always available to me at my convenience. With our we have a Limitless Pro Plus membership. that if you pay this monthly fee, so in Dallas, I think it's $70 for this monthly fee for roots, you can come in as often as you like for that root service. So for some of us, our roots is maybe it's 6 weeks or it's 4 weeks. Some women's hair grows so fast. You might be in there every 2 or 3 weeks just to get a little touch up on your roots. The great thing about membership is that every 4-week payment, that is going to cover you for as many roots appointments as you need that month. So if you need to come in every 2 weeks, and when you're somewhere every 2 weeks, time is of the essence. You might not want to always have a blowout or always. So those are the ways that we try to take those little stressors off of women's plates and say, like, what is going to make your life easiest, most convenient, and allow you to commit to your color maintenance in a pain-free way.
Yes, that is really awesome. And I can see just so many benefits, to women in general, not just moms, but what I also love that you said too is that you don't have a pro product and you don't, what you would do at home. And there's just so much flexibility that really vibes with what we need kind of in our moms' lives. And
Right.
that's really, and I love the education. Clearly, I like it all. So I'm also excited to say, I'll throw this up here on the screen, that we have a really great discount code, 30% off your first service. If you are a new client at Madison Reed here in the DFW location, you can use this code, and 30% is no joke. That's a really great code. So we will include that as well in the comments. We will also include the article in the comments again, because some people, they like to listen to it or watch it, but other people want to read it. We have all these tips written out in detail for you, and also links to the kind of like virtual assist where you can kind of see different colors. We have links for that in the article. Also links for you to be able to find a hair color bar that's near you. You can also check out this URL and you can find all of your color options there, as well as location options. And I think that about covers it. Did we forget anything, Shvonne? Is there any last words you want to say to Dallas moms?
I just think that I think as moms and as women, what's really important is finding the thing that works for you. And I think, in beauty, there's a lot of shoulds and there's a lot of thinking. I think to your point, Emily, a lot of us got our hair information from whatever our moms used to do is what we think the options are. And so if you are curious about a way to fit this into your schedule, or you want to start getting into hair color, but you're not sure, don't be afraid to ask. I think sometimes beauty industry can feel a little stuffy.
Mm-hmm.
And at Madison Reed, we are very, it's a judgment-free zone. Come in, talk to us, and we'll help you, whether it's sending you home with something or bringing you into our hair color bar. Don't be afraid to open the conversation, because there's a lot of options out there.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for chatting with me today and for answering all my hair color questions.
Oh, my pleasure.
And yay! So, Dallas Moms friends, we will see you next time.